Hello and welcome to day nine of the Iron Eddie Euro experience. Day
Yes.
nine because it's day nine of the Euros, not day nine of our consistent ongoing coverage because we've had to take breaks, but lay off. My name is Eddie Sideburns. I'm a very, very happy Scottish man. Joining me is Arn, Arn Furious, a not very happy Englishman, or maybe
I mean,
deflated Englishman.
let's face it. I've made it perfectly clear before the tournament started. I don't care if England win.
Okay.
I was not particularly bothered by the result yesterday. I will not be bothered when they get knocked out. I think it just comes from a combination of things: years and years of misery watching England play, which has led me to just make this decision. And
Hmm.
also, I hate everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about some of the.
That's good. And you bought an Ireland, yeah, and you bought an England shirt with
I only
leather
bought
on
an
it. So
England
there we
shirt for
go.
the banter, and I didn't even get any banter out of it.
Banter. Okay. Right. Domi has already gone nuts already in the
I'm not
chat.
even sure what he's doing in the chat. There.
He's just been waiting. Right. So
Hmm.
we've got three games today.
Yep.
We've got to talk about the last of the 2 p.m. kickoffs. Gone but not forgotten. You'll be.
Oh,
I'll be very very sad.
I am sad about that.
And then
I
we've
wanted a
also.
2 p.m. kickoff tomorrow. That would have been ideal.
I know it would have been good. We would have done one more final one, but alas, we
Yeah.
might do. We'll see what happens in terms of that. Um, so we'll be getting to you. We'll be getting to your
We'll
lot
talk
soon.
about you in a minute.
Um,
Let's get rid of Spain first.
yeah, Spain versus Poland. A match between the entire nation of Spain and Robert Lewandowski and friends. If we're being completely honest, because I mean there are some good players in there,
Spain.
but let's talk about the main man that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Alvaro Morata.
Well, I did a bit of a character assassination on him the last time he played, saying that he was completely useless and couldn't hit a barn door. But despite what Domi's just said and what I said last time, he did actually score. It was quite a good goal because he was very alive to the situation that was going on around him. The ball came to him really quickly, and he used his instincts instead of thinking, and the ball
Hmm.
ended up in the net. He doesn't do that very often. I mean, Domi agrees with me. Movement was good.
Yeah.
I agree with
Um.
that. Where I think Morata gets his reputation as a goal scorer from is the fact that I want to say stat padding. Is that controversial to say that he's stat padding? Let's take a look at his
Funny you
international
should.
goals.
Funny you should have them already there on hand.
Yeah, it's by magic. Um, so yeah, he scored against Ukraine. Scored in a 6-1 win over South Korea twice.
Hmm.
That South Korea team just didn't even bother turning up. Then you've got Euro 2016, where he scored 3 goals in that tournament. I feel like that's the point where it made him as the great Spanish goal scoring hope.
Yeah.
And
He came second in that group. Went on to be defeated by Italy.
yeah, well, obviously didn't score in the knockouts. Got a couple of goals in the group stage, and since then he's been adding to his 6 international goals by just smashing them in against nobodies. So he got a couple there against Liechtenstein.
Hmm.
These are all friendlies. He got a couple
Well,
against Liechtenstein again in the qualifiers.
goal against
Scored
Italy
the
in the 2018 World Cup qualification.
Yeah, but it's the third goal, so the game's
Mhm.
basically over at that point. It's not an important goal. Scored against Costa Rica in a 5-0 friendly win. Got a couple against Malta there. Um, Middle goal against Sweden. Another against Malta. Scored the opener against Germany in what ended up being a 6-0 thrashing back in November last year.
Has
Um,
Domi covered his ears yet when he's seen that or reliving that?
well, it wasn't important, was it? It was the Nations League. Scored against Greece, and then he's got this goal against Poland. That's 20 goals. But when you look at the goals that he
Mhm.
scored, like how many of those are actually important? Like 3?
If at best, probably the one for the Euros. The thing is, they still didn't even make it past Italy in that point. So, um, yeah, I
So I
mean,
think
he was
that's
very.
where the numbers come from. The
Mhm.
performance is a completely different thing, and I still persist that there is absolutely no chance of Spain winning this because they don't have a striker.
Mhm.
They played Moreno today, but they played him on the right wing.
Mhm.
Um, he did all right out there, but honestly, they just don't have that focal point. Morata, we talked about his movement, and he can play off that last defender, which means he scores a lot of goals when he's offside.
Yeah.
But what really summed him up was when they had the penalty and Moreno hit the post. It comes out to Morata, and he wouldn't have counted even if he'd scored it, but he just blazed it wide on the rebound.
Yeah, and as I say, because the keeper, obviously, as the rule is, I don't know if the rules changed. If the keeper doesn't touch it, it wouldn't have counted anyway. I think. See, the thing is, England versus Spain, would that have been that?
It would have been terrible. It would have been a god awful game. About 85% possession for Spain, and 0-0, and it goes to penalties.
Yeah. So as I say, Morata was allowed, but Moreno can't score. Okay. If we look at this, then it's obviously
Oh yeah, the guy that takes the kick can't touch it again. I was getting my rules confused. Thanks, Dom. You point that out, making me a little less of an idiot.
You're not no such an idiot to me at all, or anyone. Right. So obviously Spain scored. It took a wee while for Poland to get into it. Poland were quite drab at points. It did basically become a fight between everyone.
So Poland in this game employed what I would describe as Italian defensive tactics, which is to get away with a lot of really small fouls, and which, if they're called, it breaks up the game. If they're not called, it just frustrates the Spanish players. And most of them weren't called because the referee is Italian, so he sees all these little micro fouls, which is a staple of Serie A. And he just looked at it and went, well, it's probably not a foul in Serie A. I'm not going to give it. And they did that for the entire game. As soon as they started getting a bit of encouragement as the fact that they could get away with it, they persistently did it. And it worked.
Yeah.
It broke up the rhythm of the Spanish players. It frustrated them. And the result was that I think in the second half, they got very disjointed.
And I think they were, as the game grew, Spain were getting frustrated just as much with everything because there were cards going out left, right, and centre. The commentary at this point, and I think we've been quite heavily critical on this, was rubbish. Again,
commentary's dire. Commentary's dire in every single game. They need to get somebody who actually watches Spanish football, who actually watches the Polish players, because at the moment it's Danny Murphy going, well, I think England would do it. He doesn't talk like that, but like
I think England would, Mark.
I think England could do this lot. That's basically the mentality of every co-commentator that they get on, apart from Robbie Savage because he's Welsh.
Yeah, and then he just basically marks out for his own team. I also think the idea of, like, he was saying about, obviously you retweeted it, the Pau Torres comment was just ridiculous. It's just not doing your research whatsoever.
Yeah, not at all.
And it's just
not at all.
We were just about to move on to that. Obviously, Spain missed chances. Lewandowski scored. Good cross from Juzwiak. They got, I think this was the right result. I don't think there was any.
So I'm just going to let Domi know what happened. The Pau Torres comment. Danny Murphy said Pau Torres is not the quickest. He's actually got was timed as the fastest central defender in La Liga last season. So that's why I keep screaming at commentary to do their research.
Yep. Again, I think it was a fair result, and we were going to talk about it now, as Ivan has just tweeted. Just put up. Spain versus Slovakia. Can they beat Slovakia? Do they need to change it around again?
I don't think they will. I think you'll see an awful lot of very, very similar play from Spain. They'll hope to kind of grind out the win. What would worry me if I was Luis Enrique was not the fact that Spain is struggling for goals. It's the fact that they are conceding clear-cut opportunities at the other end on a worrying basis. Sweden could have won 2-0 in a game where Spain had 85% of possession. Tonight, Lewandowski's got a goal just because they crossed it into the box. That was all they did. They got a ball into the penalty area, and that was a goal because they can't defend it.
Yeah.
As soon as Spain come up against anybody even remotely capable of playing the ball into the box, they're screwed.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because it's a new pairing for Pau Torres and Aymeric Laporte, but they don't look happy together. And the defense as a whole has been poor. There's not a lot of protection, even though they've got Rodri as the holding player. There's nobody tracks back on the side. So like you get in a situation where if they play Germany and you had Gosens bombing down that side, nobody's going to go with him. Who plays that side? Pedri. He ain't going to track back. So you're going to get one-on-one. Gosens goes past. In comes the cross. They can't defend the crosses. They're going to get slaughtered. The best case scenario for Spain is for them to bottle it against Slovakia and go home early. And at least they can say they dominated games, but they didn't win before they get embarrassed.
Oh, goodness me. So a quick one, Arn. Spain versus Slovakia. What is your prediction?
I think it'll be a draw. I think Spain get knocked out.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed. So let's move on then. Let's talk about the game that I think one person specifically in our chat is here to talk about. Germany versus Portugal. Arn, take it away.
Yeah, Germany have pulled this whole, we're so bad. Our squad's bad. Our manager's bad. We've got no chance. And then the tournament kicks off and they're like, right, let's have them. They do it every time. And every time we fall for it. Like, if you look at the previews for this tournament, everyone was saying, oh, Germany might struggle. It's going to be a really tough group for them. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, but it's Germany. And I even spoke to Domi and I spoke to Lucas and a couple of other people as well, just to say, well, how do you see them lining up? And nobody seemed to know what the best team was. And that seemed to be a complaint about the manager as well, Yogi Low, that he didn't know what his best 11 was. And that was the biggest problem they faced. Well, I think he does know what the best 11 was. He was just being a bit crafty about it. And that was the best 11 that he played today. They absolutely rinsed Portugal. Portugal, I think, have got some defensive issues, but
I mean they're missing Cancelo.
I think that's made a big difference. To be fair.
Pepe is extremely old. I think at this point there's kind of, again, I think that's another team that is going to have to go through a kind of a get ready to bring in the youngsters and start kind of building them in a bit more and bleeding them in a bit more. But if we talk about it and we look into it, Germany got a goal and Germany scored first, but then it was ruled off due to VAR.
Yeah, I didn't see that, so I'm not actually sure what happened. I assume it was offside, wasn't it?
I think it was offside and handball. There was kind of two kind of opposite things. I think probably a goal of offside. Then obviously Portugal got into it with Ronaldo, and then two own goals from Portugal.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you ping those balls into that area. It's like, for a defender, it's an absolute nightmare because you have to play it. So you had Diaz the first time and Guerrero the second time. You have to play those balls when they come into the penalty area from wide areas. You just have to.
Yeah.
And they were just great balls into the box.
And do we talk about obviously Gosens and just how well a performance that man has kind of? I think he's put himself on the
absolutely.
On the map now.
I'm annoyed because I don't think I said it anywhere. But in the if you look in the Euro 2020 big sheet that I put up, if you go into Germany and you go down the bottom, potential breakout, Robin Gosens.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was one of Atalanta's top scorers this season, scoring nine goals.
Yeah, I saw him in Serie A, and I was like, I think he's going to have a really good tournament. But scored 11 according to them.
Yeah, 12 overall goals for Atalanta.
But he absolutely bombs down there. He's got a great motor. He can go all day long. His performance alone was enough, I think, for Germany to win this game. But they played very well as a team, which is, I think, the big concern for anyone that's coming up against Germany is that if these players gel together, then they could do something in this tournament. Well, I feel like they are going to do something in this tournament. The one weakness from that game was that one of the goals was conceded from their own corner, which you can't concede that kind of goal in a major tournament. It's just downright sloppy. I think the blame has to fall with having two midfield players who are offensive minded in Gundogan and in Kroos. It's like you can't really have that. It worked for most of the game, but that is where it went wrong.
Yeah.
Then you've got the second goal where they just didn't bother marking Ronaldo on a free kick, which is just asking for trouble.
Yeah.
So for me, I think when Lucas was saying he thought Germany's biggest problems were at the back, I would say that they are. I think Germany have some pretty major defensive issues, and it's mainly the way that they defend as a team rather than particular defenders. Like, I wouldn't say, oh, Rudiger's bad, because he's not. It's a case of, like, they need to sort out their defensive options at corners and other set pieces. And I think if they can get that right, they're going to go a long way in this tournament.
Yeah, I think they've, as I say, I think they've finally woken up. And I think
I don't mean like point saying one-on-one they defended well.
Yeah. Stephen J says nice penalty. I'm assuming that's about the Spain.
The Moreno one, yeah. Wasn't great.
Yeah, I would.
But a lot of missed penalties in this tournament. A lot of them have been saved, but there's been a lot of missed pens.
Yep, quite recently there's been ones that have been, just very heavily saved. And just I don't know what it is about penalties, but keepers seem more up for it this.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens if we go to a shootout, because like obviously we had that Man United Villarreal one that went 11-11, well 11-10.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see what happens.
One quick thing I wanted to talk about. So we're going to move on to talk about Morata. Morata was the start of the show, says Stephen. He was a very important part of the show.
It was a mixed day, I would say, for Morata.
So what?
If he'd had a good day, they would have won.
So what do we expect from Germany and Portugal going forward? Do you think, Arn?
Portugal are in trouble.
Because need results.
Real trouble.
France.
They've got France in the last game, and if they draw that game, they should go through as a best third place. If they lose it, they could have to go home. And France, I think, will want to win the group because it will present an easier path to the final for them. If they finish second in that group behind Germany, Germany would go into the easier side of the draw, like the Netherlands side of the draw, and Germany would have to go in with like the Italies and the Belgiums of the world. That's not what they want to do at all.
No.
So I think they're going to look to win the group. I think they're going to look to punish Portugal, and I can see Portugal going out.
It's looking that way.
Ronaldo. I mean, Domi's saying like if they defend like they did today, then Mbappe is going to absolutely rinse them, and I agree with that.
I mean, if we look at, and that, funnily enough, now we're going to mention it. Let's go on to talk about France-Hungary and kind of wrap this up.
Yeah.
I watched it in a pub. France they looked alive at points, and then they kind of they had some good opportunities. Hungary in the beginning didn't look again up to the races. Just France couldn't finish their dinner. And then the counterattack happened, and Hungary and that Budapest crowd just went absolutely.
That was good to see.
And they scored. No social distancing whatsoever in that place. And then he did the celebration and jumped in front of the reporter.
Yeah, that was a good bit. Enjoyed that.
But yeah, I thought.
I mean, Tommy's saying Hungary looks dangerous for anyone. I've not seen them play in this tournament yet, but the last time I saw them play, they looked very much like they set up. They were very organised, but it was when they saw the opportunity to break. It's not so much a counter-attacking thing; is that they just read the players they've got in midfield, read the game really well, That's how they scored against France today. It wasn't a counter attack. It was they cut a ball out of defence. It was intercepted. I don't even know what I'm using an American football term there. I'm not even sure if that's au fait. But like, he picked it off, and then he had a clean run through on goal because he got wrong side of Varane, and then bosh, in it goes.
Yeah. I do think they did. Obviously, they did look up for it. I think at the start they started off a little bit slow, and then they did kind of just look very kind of tight. But yeah, Griezmann scoring. They missed again. They missed so many opportunities.
Yeah, it did look like they missed a lot of chances. It felt like they played through Mbappe a lot, but the chances weren't really falling to him.
Yeah, they just couldn't finish their dinner.
Yeah. I mean, even Benzema skewed one wide that he should have hit the target with. That was surprising.
What's been your thoughts on Benzema being back in the thing? Has it made any difference, you think, so far?
Kind of. In the warm-up game that I watched from like 2 days before the tournament, Benzema was like the focal point of their attack. It allowed Mbappe to get more space. So like when Mbappe plays in the middle, it's very easy to mark him out the game if you're playing kind of deep and there's two of you in the middle there to block him off. If one of them can't get him, the other one will.
Yeah.
Putting Benzema in there basically gives one of those centre-backs something to think about, and Mbappe can kind of drift around and create his own space, which he has been doing in these games, but because he's playing sort of out wide more, it's so much in dangerous areas. Yeah. So that has kind of hurt France a little bit, but yeah, I feel like he is going to start firing Mbappe. He's close, because he seems to either be just marginally offside and he scores a worldie, or he's there or thereabouts. Again, if I'm Portugal, I am extremely worried because if Mbappe hits like fourth gear or something against them, it could be really, really devastating for Portugal. They could be in trouble. Like half an hour gone, they could be out.
Yeah, I think again, it's all about waiting to see what happens. Mbappe just again hasn't seemed like he did look dangerous against Germany, and he did look at points here against Hungary quite dangerous, but we're still to see, as I say, him kick into gear. If that happens, I'd be completely.
Yeah.
I would be a little bit shocked, but we'll just need to see what happens. So this is the final round of, well, not final round. We still got obviously another round to go. But tomorrow is Italy versus Wales.
Yes, everyone's played two.
Everyone's played two. Italy versus Wales and Switzerland versus Turkey. So this is the final round of everyone playing two. It's a 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock game, and then it's going to be difficult because it's the double 5 o'clock kickoffs along with the double 8 o'clock kickoffs. So that's going to make our job a little bit difficult, but I'm sure we'll find a way through it. But yeah, if you've not done so already, please like and subscribe. It's all down below. You can subscribe on the YouTube and subscribe on the Twitch. We will potentially.
Twitch costs money though. Twitch will cost you unless you do the Amazon Prime thing. It's up to you.
Yeah, if you subscribe or follow, whichever one. But we might want the money, so. No, we will see you all potentially tomorrow. We will see what happens. But yeah, other than that, please take care, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.